Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Common Sense Academy. I am your host, Joe Palmetto, Joe the lawyer. It has been some time since I've done a live show like this, but I've been looking forward to returning to discuss whatever it is, whatever topics there are that my viewers would like to discuss. Today, there were a couple of things on my mind that I wanted to chat about, and these things were, for the most part, discussed in my prior videos. The prior videos this week all discuss this. And that is the new Sovereign Citizen movie that supposedly is coming out. Also, the current state of the movement, and then anything else that my viewers and audience would like to talk about today. Hiya, Bob. How you doing? Thanks for joining me. But those are kind of the hot topics on the sovereign citizen front. Um, they're making this movie, which is very interesting. Very interesting. It's going to possibly portray sovereign citizens in a positive light, a nice, friendly father son relationship. And I just wanted to see what everybody thought about that. The movement is pretty disturbing. Uh, it can be violent, it can be extreme. And what the movie allegedly is going to cover is the death of not the death of these gentlemen, Jerry and Joe Kane, who killed a couple of state troopers um, in an innocuous traffic stop. So let me just pull this up here because I want to talk about that incident. I want to talk in more detail about that incident. Um, Dude, the West Memphis 2010 West Memphis police shootings. So, and great to see you, Bob. Great to see you and hear from you. Sovereign citizen families. Yeah, I know. So, what the movie supposedly is going to cover is the 2010 West Memphis police shootings, which I've talked about previously. In many occasions. Two police officers, West Memphis, Arkansas, were shot and killed during a traffic stop on May 20th, 2010. Police killed two suspects, 45-year-old Jerry R. Kane Jr. and his son, 16-year-old Joseph T. Kane. The two were later identified as members of the Sovereign Citizen Movement. Footage of the shooting and ensuing shootout with police was shown in a season 5 episode of World's Wildest Police Videos. Around 11:30 a.m. On May 20th, 2010, West Memphis police officer Bill Evans initiated a traffic stop on a white Plymouth Voyager van that was traveling on Interstate 40 eastbound toward Airport Road. That's one state I haven't really been to or explored. I don't think I've even driven through Arkansas, and I lived in the panhandle of Florida for a while. And so I've been through Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, all up and down the East Coast. Never been to Arkansas, though. According to a spokesperson for the Arkansas State Police, Officer Evans was running drug interdiction. The vehicle, driven by Jerry Kane, had unusual Ohio license plates. These are license plates that we all have seen. Sergeant Brandon Podare provided backup for Evans. As a sovereign citizen, Jerry Kane did not have a driver's license, and his van was not properly registered. And his license plates, FIL, good evening. And his license plates were sovereign citizen plates. He was also carrying a brick of marijuana, and there were 2 arrest warrants for him. Well, I guess the drug interdiction was effective. One in Ohio and one in New Mexico. Upon Podare's arrival at the scene, Evans attempted to frisk Jerry Kane. Suddenly, Kane turned and attacked Evans in a scuffle down an embankment into a ditch. At that moment, Joe Kane emerged from the passenger door of the van, and opened fire with an AK-47 variant. Podare ran to the rear of Evans' police cruiser and returned fire with 3 shots from his .40 caliber Glock 22 handgun through the windows and taillight of Evans' cruiser in an attempt to hit Kane, firing from the other side. He then took cover behind the hood of the cruiser, which was parked directly behind Evans' cruiser. Podare fired 4 more times at Kane but missed. Kane then fired multiple shots from his AK-47 variant through the hood of the car, striking Podare in the head with a ricochet. Very sad, very sad. Both officers were fatally wounded. Podare, 39, died at the scene. Evans, 38, at the hospital. He passed away. Rest in peace to those 2 courageous officers. The suspects returned to their van and sped away. Vincent Brown, a FedEx driver from Houston, witnessed the shooting and called 911. Neither officer could make an officer down call due to their fatal injuries. Approximately 2 hours after the incident, Crittenden County Sheriff Dick Busby and Chief Enforcement Officer W.A. Wren stopped the minivan believed to be the suspects at a Walmart supercenter. Officers Busby and Wren were wounded in gunfire exchanged with the suspects and were later hospitalized and placed in critical condition. Hey, Sam, I am glad you got the notification. Wildlife officer Michael K. Neal responded to the standoff, rammed the suspect's vehicle, preventing their escape and saving the lives of Busby and Wren. Officer Neal exchanged fire with the Canes through his windshield during his patrol, using his patrol rifle, killing Jerry Kane and wounding Joe Kane before exiting his vehicle and continuing the gun battle. Wildlife officer. Hey, amen. Amen. Dozens of officers then surrounded the van, and after several more minutes of gunfire, Joe Kane was shot to death by police. For his heroics, Officer Neal was awarded Law Enforcement Officer of the Year by the National Rifle Association of America. Michael Neal's truck is on permanent display at the National Law Enforcement Museum in Washington, D.C. That is very interesting. You know what? I'm going to go see that truck. I am going to go see that truck. So that's the incident. That's the incident that they're going to make a movie about. And I have much more to share about that. But thank you, everybody, for joining me tonight. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. Hopefully, I can keep this going regularly. I'm not making any promises. I'm just going to do it. You don't make promises, just do it. Because I've said it before, and then I fell off the face of the earth. So I apologize for that. I miss everybody, and I miss doing these live videos. But before we get into the rest of what I want to talk about here with the Canes, please, if you have a beverage with you, somebody in the comments told me, and I do have some regular Cokes that I keep around for some kids and some other people, but I decided to drink one the other night on the show, and somebody in the comments said I would never take advice from somebody who uses Coke. And I thought it was interesting that he used the word use. And I don't know if he did it on purpose to say that Coca-Cola is a drug, or that's just the way this individual talks. But hopefully today I'll be more forgiving because I have a Diet Coke. So raise your cup, your glass in the air. Donnie Jepp works for me. Zephiel, you watch my other channel, I'm sure. Raise your cup, your glass in the air. Cheers with me. It tastes better when we sip together. Cheers. Okay. I am going to visit Michael Neal's truck. So let's talk about the perpetrators. Let me stop right here. This movie should be about wildlife officer Michael Neal and the 2 brave officers who died. This movie should be about wildlife officer Michael Neal and these 2 brave officers. Widow also sued Arkansas for gold because her husband and son were torture killed. Well, let me say this, because the sovereign citizens, they claim there's no crime unless an injury is done. So wouldn't they agree that the Canes perpetrated an injury upon someone? Oh, of course they did it in the name of justice. Sorry, they were justified in their actions. But even under, we have a corpus delicti. We have a corpus delicti here. 2 murdered individuals. Michael Neal's truck is on permanent display at the National Law Enforcement Museum in Washington, D.C. I'm looking at the truck right now. I didn't live stream with a screen share. Pretty amazing. His truck was jammed up. It was jammed up. Looks like a Chevy Tahoe. But I'm gonna go see that truck and I'm gonna take a picture, and I am going to shoot a video there as a counterpoint to this movie, which may or may not be very disrespectful. I'm going to reserve final judgment. It seems to me like a bad idea, especially if the focus is on the Canes. Now, it could be depicted in a tasteful way that shows the dangers of sovereign citizen ideology. And so if they accomplish that, I may end up applauding the movie. I may end up applauding the film. But right now I'm pretty skeptical. I have a question though. What is a wildlife officer? I mean, are we talking about a park ranger? Is this an officer who patrols? He's a Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. So he enforces hunting and fishing laws. Interesting, very interesting. In 2013, here, like Vice President Joe Biden at the time awarded him with the National Medal of Valor. Wildlife Officer Michael Neal of Arkansas Game and Fish Commissions awarded National Medal of Valor, Washington, D.C. That's very appropriate. National Police Week 2011. There's an interview with Michael Neal that, again, I can't put up because I don't have a screen share right now, but I'm going to do a video on that at a later time. I should have shot this video from my Streamlabs account so that I could share video with you guys. But maybe next time, you know what? Next live stream, we're going to watch the interview with Michael Neal and we're going to look at his car. Next live stream, interview and the truck. So what do you all think of the movie? I don't know if you watched my video on it. Give me a second here. If I can answer some questions. About the production of the movie. So the movie is a movie titled Sovereign, starring Nick Offerman, Dennis Quaid, and Jacob Tremblay, is in the planning stages. It sounds to me like a mainstream studio, but I'm not sure. Let me see here. If I get some more information on it. Here we go. Nick Offerman, Jacob Tremblay, and Dennis Quaid team for crime thriller Sovereign. Concourse Media is launching the film. The feature directorial debut of Christian Swagel follows a father and son who belong to a group of anti-government extremists as they venture across the U.S. at the EFM. Fresh from the acclaim over his performance in HBO's The Last of Us, Nick Offerman has been cast in true crime thriller Sovereign, alongside Jacob Tremblay and Dennis Quaid. I'm interested in who's going to play what role here. So Offerman and Tremblay. Quaid is the chief of police. Okay. Set to go into production later this year in Canada, Sovereign follows a father and son who identify as sovereign citizens, a loosely defined group of anti-government extremists. Every definition of sovereign citizens they say loosely knit or a loosely defined group. as they venture across the country and find themselves in a standoff with a chief of police that sets off an intense manhunt with tragic consequences. A graduate of USC School of Cinematic Arts, Swagel has worked in both film and television, most recently co-writing the feature film Proud Mary for Screen Gems and scripting the pilot for Solar, a series he created for Sci-Fi Channel. In 2019, Swagel developed the series Fordlandia for director Werner Herzog at AMC. So semi-mainstream is Peter D. It's live until he gets done with live stream. Semi-mainstream would be my answer. The film is being produced as much as Sovereign. Yeah, let me pick back up where I was. As much as Sovereign is an incredible true story filled with intensity and action at its core, it is a film about fathers and sons, masculinity and rigidity, and the need for empathy. I cannot wait to see the performances these amazing actors bring to these roles. I also have intimate knowledge of this world and these types of characters through personal experience. So this is a story I'm deeply invested in telling. Now, if he had, perhaps his personal experience has made him very skeptical or have a negative view of the sovereign citizen world. The film is being produced by Nick Mocheri under his All Night Diner banner, whose credits include the upcoming Sitting in Bars with Cake, Deidre and Lainey Rob a Train, and Girls Walk Home Alone at Night. One of them is for Amazon Studios. Matthew Schraner and Grant Morman are executive producing, which is co-financing, launching the film in Berlin. Concourse and UTA Independent Film Group are representing North American rights. Barbara McCarthy is Sovereign's co-producer and casting director. So, Offerman and Quaid are not a couple of, I really wouldn't call them B actors. Quaid has had a heck of a career, and Offerman has as well. So, this appears to be a pretty serious film. It's interesting. It's interesting that Swagel says, I cannot wait. I have intimate knowledge of this world. He has intimate knowledge. Christian Swagel. Who is this guy? Christian Swagel. There's really not much about him on the internet. Films directed by Christian Swagel. Let me see who is Christian Swagel. So what do you guys think about this movie? Do you think it should be made? Do you find it interesting? Do you think it's dangerous? Like it's going to encourage the production of more sovereign citizens? I mean, is this going to produce more sovereign citizens? I would love to hear your thoughts. Christian Swagel. Can't find much on this guy. Here we go. A graduate. Christian Swagel. Nothing much to say about him. A graduate of USC School of Cinematic Arts. That's it. He must have grew up in a small town in Arkansas. Maybe he grew up in a small town somewhere where sovereign citizens were everywhere. Vilified Freedom. Long time no see, brother. Thank you for jumping in. If they're using the word extremist, it doesn't sound very favorable towards Sov Cits. Yeah, I agree, but he says here it's a film about fathers and sons. And maybe because, as many of you may well know, that the father of one of the officers, is it Poe Dare? The father of one of the officers who was killed goes around the country talking about and informing law enforcement, Bob Podere, yeah, informing law enforcement about the dangers of sovereign citizens. So maybe they're going to draw a contrast here between the Canes who committed the crime and the Podares who tried to stop these individuals. And so you have you have this father and son of the sovereign citizen extremists, and then you have a father and son on the side of law enforcement. So it's going to be interesting. I'm starting to think that it may actually be a really cool movie. Um, Again, though, it could some people in a film identify with the bad guys. And so even though the film likely portrays sovereign citizens in a negative light, it could still have the effect of encouraging the movement. It could still have the effect of giving the movement some extra gas. I think that's real. I think that's real here. But I at the same time, I'm fascinated by the movie. I'm fascinated by it. I think it's going to be very interesting to see this portrayal of sovereign citizens in a movie context like this. Um, Anybody else have any other thoughts on this? I wonder when it'll come out. We're probably a year or two away. In Ohio, he faced charges of forgery and theft by deception. Hopefully, they'll cover whoever he allegedly ripped off in Ohio. Yeah, I have a feeling they will. Maybe at the end, they'll kind of run through who these characters were. Um, I hope that they feature wildlife officer Mike O'Neill because he's a hero. He's a true hero. Very cool. Very interesting. Um, Excuse me. Now, I don't know if you guys saw one of the other videos that I did about the former NFL player in Wisconsin who runs, it appears to me to be a sovereign citizen type group. And he runs a group of Black Hebrew Israelites. Kabir Gabaja Biamila, the former NFL player, runs a group of Black Hebrew Israelites, and they also have a lot of sovereign citizen tendencies. And it's just fascinating. It's interesting to see how, um, you know, first, if you go further back, first you have the sovereign citizen movement. Oh, by the way, how's the sound, everybody? Is the sound okay? Please let me know. But you have the sovereign citizen movement with its birth, let's say, truly in the 1970s, and maybe just more of a rural type movement, and you have this militia movement, and eventually sovereign citizen ideology is adopted by individuals in the Moorish Science Temple of America. So you have like this more standard sovereign citizen movement, and then you have this Moorish Science Temple of America sovereign citizen movement, and you have within the Moors, you have the Moorish Science Temple, you have Moorish Science Temple people who aren't a part of the sovereign citizen, and then this is like their little extremist shoot off and spin off. That's a better word. And then, of course, you have other little groups like the Washita Nation down in the South. And then as a shoot off of them, we have Rise of the Moors, right? We have Rise of the Moors, which is like just another, I guess, another clique of Moorish sovereign citizens, though, that just gained steam. And you have to check in on the criminal cases for those guys, but it gained steam and became a little movement of its own. and now you have like the Black Hebrew Israelites, and I feel like the Black Hebrew Israelites, and I could be wrong about this, I haven't read as much about their history, but they weren't really like sovereign citizen style. I mean, they do have this theory that the African American individuals in America are actually descendants of the Hebrews. Okay. um and this Black Hebrew Israelite group has now adopted sovereign citizens as sovereign citizenship. And now maybe you guys can correct me in that group. Maybe that group has had sovereign citizen ideals within it for the last few decades, but it seems to me like it's newer for them. Like, they had some maybe radical ideas, but then they adopted the sovereign citizen. And it's funny, again, all the media, they call it a loosely knit confederation or a loosely knit group. And but it's interesting and influential enough that all these other groups, even elements of like QAnon followers, but all these other groups here will just pick and choose pieces from the sovereign citizen ideology and adopt it into their own for your standard anti-government type stuff. It's just very interesting. The internet is really the internet is and social media has just put fuel to the fire of these issues. um and hopefully none of these, you know we don't see too many more extremist acts or murders or violent acts or a lot of the paper terrorism. I mean, hopefully this thing can tamp down. But if you follow Dr. Christine Sartesky on Twitter, she follows very well, and she follows she talks a lot. I know I haven't talked about her. This Romana Digilo person up in Canada. But these groups they're really flourishing. They're flourishing right now, and it's very fascinating. Romana Digilo, a Canadian far right conspiracy theorist. I mean, she's done enough to have her own Wikipedia page, um, and it appears she started in 2020. So I'm here to keep an eye on this movement. We laugh, we have fun with it, but we also take it serious as well. For me personally, and I think I've talked about this before. When I first learned the sovereign citizen, I was working at the public defender's office as a young law student, and I observed these sovereign citizens coming into court, and I was like, what what is this about? And it intrigued me because I like to learn about different philosophies. I like to learn about different political ideologies. And I said, what's going on here? What's going on here? And I looked into it and I was fascinated by it at first, but I quickly concluded that it was nonsense. And here, the deeper idea here though is that you can resist, you can be skeptical of the government in a way that is not as extreme or openly hostile as these individuals. You don't have to adopt these beliefs. You can be a libertarian, which I largely consider myself to be politically, where you want the least amount of government influence that you pretty much can possibly have. And or just reduce it to let the government do the things that the government is good at and that the government can and should do. um, and you can have those beliefs, and you can stand up to big government, you can stand up to excesses of government, corruption of government, misuse of government power, without jumping into these tunnels, these dark holes. It doesn't have to be this way. And just because you've ended up in a dark, people have ended up in a dark place in their life where they can't get a driver's license or they have a criminal history. Okay. The answer isn't to jump to somewhere darker just because maybe it makes you feel a little bit better about your situation. Um, you can do other things. You can work on other things that can have a more positive influence on the world without going down again these dark recesses. So it's just, again, I think the movement's growing. I think the movement is expanding. I think that it's moving into new spheres, such as the Black Hebrew Israelites and sovereign citizen ideology. It's like the idea that as something for everybody. So your license was suspended. Hey, let me adopt this. Oh, you feel that you don't want to follow the rules, or you want to have your own some other identity or something. It's there for you. It's there for the taking. It's got a little bit of everything, and it's perhaps that's one of the major reasons it's so seductive, and it draws on like these secret histories as well, or times in history that are clouded in a bit in mystery, so it's easy for sovereign citizens to fill in the blanks there. And Bob, you're absolutely right. It is time for a reissue of my book. Finding the time to do it is a different story. I do have a lot of ideas. I do want to get it out though, just because it needs updated. The movement's changed a lot in the last few years. It's gotten bigger. It's reached some mainstream media, and it's got a lot going on, and a lot has changed in a short time. And I have a feeling I'm just going to have to reissue the book every couple of years, because the movement's crazy. The movement's crazy. Again, you can oppose government and big government in a peaceful manner that doesn't rely on just ridiculous things. See if you can send a copy to the film's producers so you can be listed on the credits. Bob, I would love to. I would love to. Maybe I will do that. I'll try to mail them something or send them an email. When Rise of the Moors, and if you guys, I mentioned it, when Rise of the Moors were arrested up in Massachusetts, the news was going to talk to me. Like, I was emailing with them. We were set up to talk, and they dumped me at the last minute. And I don't know why. If they think I'm like sovereign friendly or something, or just some YouTuber. I mean, I'm a practicing criminal defense attorney with my own law firm for the past 6 years, and I've been practicing for 10 years. But whatever. But they dumped me for a law enforcement officer. That's fine. I would have been happy to speak to that. I would have loved to have been interviewed on the news for this issue. But I will send something. I think I will, send a copy of the book. Hey, maybe this director has read my book. Maybe this director has read my book. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be interesting? And yes, that is, look, I was waiting for the comments on this. Okay, wait, just look closely. Look, everybody. Signed by Joe Pesci. Signed by Joe Pesci. My brother got that for me for Christmas. So yeah, that is just a tremendous lawyer movie. And I just wanted to highlight it a little bit. Did you say Utes? Did you say Utes? What did you say? The Utes? So you're telling me the entire grit eating world that you cook your grits faster than the entire grit eating world Well, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That movie's tremendous. I love when he's talking to Marissa Tomei and he's like, man, wouldn't it be great if I could get my hands on the same file that the district attorney has? And she's like, he has to give it to you. It's right here. They have to turn over. Oh my God. Isn't it wonderful? You get the evidence that the Commonwealth that the government's going to use against you. Yeah, it's required by the Constitution. Oh man. Tremendous movie. Mass One. Yeah, it sounds great. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. And thank you. Just a tremendous movie. And that the actor who played the judge, didn't he pass away recently? He was just the greatest judge. When I was a kid, that's the guy. When I thought of a judge, that's the guy that I pictured in my mind, was the judge in My Cousin Vinny. So tremendous, just a tremendous movie. But yeah, that's where we're going. They're gonna write this movie. I'm gonna do a video on Michael Neal, the wildlife officer who saved the day. Okay, that is coming soon to a YouTube channel near you. Anything else that you guys wanted to talk about today? Something in the news, something about sovereign citizens, anything else going on? What's going on in the world today? I'm happy to take questions and discuss a variety of different topics. The judge was Herman Munster. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Um, he was a great actor in a lot of iconic roles. For those of you who haven't, although most of you probably have, check out my other channel on YouTube, Joe the Lawyer. I'm trying to make more content on that channel. Sign up for my email list if you would like to. But yeah, my other channel, trying to do more on that channel, trying to really figure out how to hit a groove on that channel. I mean, getting more subscribers, but not as many that I get on here. So I'm really just trying to find the topics that people want. It's like a mix of legal news, legal advice, legal analysis. Maybe that's the problem, going too general. This channel has some success because I picked one topic and I stuck to it, I think, and that can sometimes help you be more successful on the YouTube. Also gonna start posting some more on Twitter. You can find me. I think it's I think my hand something like this. Joe Knows Laws, or Joe Knows Law. Um, so take a look at that. Take a look at my Twitter. I'm gonna be dropping more of my videos. Just try to do a little bit more content on there. But yeah, my law practice has been really, really busy. But I really also miss making YouTube videos. I have so much fun with it. And so I'm trying to get back into it. I've a little bit of time has opened up for me, and I also kind of moved things around in my little dungeon where I shoot my videos. So I'm happy with the space that I have, and I'm going to try to do more consistent videos. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I set aside a full hour. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button for me. Get my likes up. I got 17 and 12 people watching. So I think most of you guys already hit like, but if you didn't join in, hit like again. And let me know, is there anything else that you guys want to discuss? What other topics you should look into? Pastor Steve Anderson car stop. Oh, all right, Mass One. Let me see, sir. What is this? Extremist patriot pastor videotapes another in the future. Everyone will be tased for 15 minutes. I will get into this guy. Very interesting. Very interesting. Um, Michael Moore, a Valley pastor, is claiming Border Patrol agents beat him and tased him at a checkpoint, but he said he did nothing wrong. Sam, Wednesday night along the Mexican border, Anderson said agents stopped him on his way back to the valley from San Diego. They asked him where he was going, if he was a U.S. citizen. Anderson said he wasn't answering, told them he wanted to go home, and they tased him. Well, that sounds to me like a bit of the police going a little too far there. But I haven't looked into this issue. Extremist patriot pastor videotapes another tense traffic stop. So this guy appears to cause some trouble. So maybe it's not as innocent as it sounds. The radical conservative pastor Steven Anderson's personal anti-government reality TV show has unveiled a new episode. This is from 2010. But with the surge in Americans claiming to be sovereign citizens, not subject to federal state laws, and who sometimes resist police, the encounter illustrated anew how readily normal police work can hold hidden perils for officers. Yeah, very interesting. By preparing for traffic stops with video cameras at the ready and immediately choosing defiance over cooperation, Anderson seems to be itching for more YouTube-friendly material to advance his anti-government cause. This was 13 years ago. In April 2009, Anderson was stopped at a U.S. Border Patrol checkpoint on Interstate 8 near Yuma. With the camera running, he refused to answer questions or get out of his car. They finally chose to break his car window and extract him by force, tasing him, shoving him to the ground while arresting him. Facial injuries and 11 stitches. Blossom, in a jury trial, he was acquitted of all charges related to the 2009 stop. Well, while this guy may be a nut, okay, he may have been right in that particular incident. So, very interesting. Very interesting. Is the new night court any good? I've seen it a few times. It's not bad. I like John Lithgow. But yeah, this dude's wild. This dude's wild. I'll have to look into him a little bit more. Anything else? On Joe the Lawyer, I did a video, my opinion on Hunter Biden's criminal charges and the penalties that he got. And what I will say is in Allegheny County, I've dealt with many individuals who have applied to buy a firearm and did not put on their application that they had a prior felony conviction. Now, oftentimes the people forget. That's not that believable. But they also don't know if it was a felony or if it was a misdemeanor, or they're also confused by the question. So sometimes people answer no, and they end up getting charged with felonies. And what Allegheny County will do is they'll plead it down to a misdemeanor and give you probation. And that's pretty much what happened to Hunter Biden. So while there may be more going on there, okay, considering how politically charged that is, I can say the penalty he got on that firearm related charge was likely pretty standard. That's standard. And I do feel comfortable saying that it's the same penalty that almost anybody else in a similar situation would have got. Now, I don't agree, Mass One. I'm sorry, I don't agree. I mean, I'm not a fan of Hunter Biden, but I don't think anybody else would have got years in prison, because I've seen that same charge many, many times in Allegheny County. They'll charge it as a felony, reduce it to a misdemeanor, you plead guilty, and you get probation, period, end of story. And I actually think that's kind of harsh because at least 50% of the time when people do that, it's a complete accident. Now, I don't, now 50% of the time, the people, they might be trying to sneak one past in order to get the gun. But I would say at least 50% of the time, the people are just not sophisticated enough to remember their record or understand what that form means. I mean, it's complicated. So I think that I don't think that on the gun charge, I think that's standard. The 5 million, the taxes, I can't speak as much to. I've never defended someone in a tax case. Never defended someone. Do people normally go to prison on tax cases? I don't know. I know Wesley Snipes did. Now, you say guns and drugs. You have to understand, though, a standard guns and drugs case is a person who was drug dealing and were caught with the guns and the drugs. The thing about Hunter Biden is he was never even arrested with the firearm in his possession, and the firearm was eventually discarded. And again, the charge was not firearm possession. It was the form in the application to purchase. So it's a little bit different from your standard guns and drugs case. I would say, yeah, a lot of people with guns and drugs, even a first offense. I've had first offense guns and drugs. Depends on the amount of drugs. I've had first offense guns and drugs in Allegheny County get a probation sentence and or house arrest. Now, normally a second offense, yes, you're going to jail. You could even do state prison time, which is more than 1 year. Or if you have a significant prior criminal record and you get busted with guns and drugs, you will usually do jail time. But a first offense, not that often. Maybe if the person's caught with a whole bunch of fentanyl, certainly could. Kodak Black off 5 years, the rapper, for misfiling a gun purchase form. Look, hey, these things can be very different from state to state. I don't know what Kodak Black's, did he have a prior criminal record? That's the biggest thing that you have to look into. The question is about whether he's addicted to any drug. He probably does not believe that he is an addict. Yeah, and that goes to his defense. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Admit that you're a drug addict on the form? I guess really what you're supposed to do is not apply to get the drug or to get the gun when you're under drugs or when you're in addiction. Hunter Biden charges spark Kodak Black comparisons. Interesting. All right, let's see. The biggest thing to look at is a prior record score. Let me see here. During his incarceration, controversies, legal issues. Kodak Black was placed into a youth detention center 3 times in 1 year, then placed on probation. Arrested in Pompano Beach, robbery, battery, false imprisonment, possession of cannabis. 2016, possession of a weapon by a convicted felon, possession of marijuana, fleeing officers. May 2016, armed robbery and false imprisonment. August 2016, no contest to all charges under a plea agreement, placed on house arrest for 1 year, 5 years probation. Later on, Broward, Maine jail discovered 2 outstanding criminal warrants, felony criminal sexual misconduct, and 2 counts of misdemeanor marijuana possession. In September 2016, Kodak Black pled no contest to 2 misdemeanor drug charges, 4 months in jail, credited for time spent in custody awaiting trial. Released from jail, transported to South Florida, face charges of sexual assault. I mean, I believe it looks like he was released from. According to the victim, reported the incident to her nurse. She attended a 2016 performance by Kodak Black at Treasure City, after which she accompanied him to his hotel room. He's alleged to have told her he couldn't help himself as he took off her clothes, bit her, and sexually assaulted her as she screamed for help. Miami Times asked, is he a product of larger societal problems, having been raised on a steady diet of misogynistic rap lyrics? 2017, arrested again for violation of probation. 2017, indicted by a grand jury. First degree criminal sexual misconduct, anger management courses. He threatened to call 911 during the courses, would not stop burping in the class, grabbed her phone and her wrist. He was sentenced for violating house arrest for 364 days in the Broward County Jail. I mean, bro, there's no comparison. I'm sorry, there's no comparison. I'm not even done yet. 2018, I mean, there's about 15 more things to read about Kodak Black. So yeah, you listen, I have people, somebody with zero prior record scores, never been in trouble before. Say that person gets, charged and convicted of a burglary. That individual could certainly get 6 months house arrest and 3 years probation. It's never been in trouble before. But somebody with 5 or 6 prior convictions, same exact crime as that other person, might get 3 to 6 years, 4 to 8 years in state prison. So I imagine that what happened with Kodak Black is, when he got the firearm offense, his prior record score, which is basically a mathematical calculation, was through the roof. And that was that was taken into account when he was sentenced. And just so there's I didn't even read everything else that he's done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 more paragraphs on his criminal misconduct. So I stand by my analysis of Hunter Biden. I've seen cases just like his, and they received pretty much the exact same punishment that Hunter Biden got. So are there judges in situations where it could be a little more intense than what Hunter Biden got? Yes. But there's no world where he was going to do 2 years in prison. Okay. But there might also be situations where a regular Joe got a better deal than Hunter Biden. I think that Hunter Biden's deal was right on. I think it was right on. I think it was fair. So absolutely, Scott. You keep doing bad things that get right. I mean, it's common sense, right? It's common sense. Prior convictions, the way they're dealt with in the criminal law is they generally can't be used against you at your trial on guilt or innocence. So when a person's being tried for an individual crime, the state can't just come in and list the litany of bad things that the person did. They'd never get a fair trial that way. A jury would just convict them because they've been convicted of 10 bad things in the past. But when it comes to the penalty, absolutely, your whole library of criminal convictions are taken into account when it comes to the penalty. And my understanding is Hunter Biden doesn't have any prior criminal convictions. Now, if Hunter Biden was to continuously get in trouble and continuously get very lenient punishments, that should raise some eyebrows for sure. So thank you everybody for tuning in. We've been going for about 54 minutes. Hit the like button. If you haven't already, hit the like button. I'm going to come back next week at 8:00 and we'll do another live stream. I might cover that officer, the wildlife officer who who responded and took out the Canes. The very dangerous sovereign citizens. We'll take a look at his vehicle, and I will cover and discuss any other legal topics or other topics that you guys wish to discuss. Thank you very much for supporting my channel. If you're not already signed up for my email list, please sign up. Please drop me a like, drop me a comment. Those kinds of things help. Go to my channel on Joe the Lawyer and drop me a like and a subscribe on that channel as well. Love all you guys. Great to see you. Zephiel, Bob, Mass One, Scott in West Virginia, Truffles. Love all you guys. Bob, absolutely. Give your love to the Berg. It's a great place to be. Okay, everybody. Have a terrific day. Thank you for tuning in to Joe the Lawyer in the Common Sense Academy.